Hello, gentlemen, and welcome to yet another episode of Gentlemen's Club Whiskey. I am your host, Mark Antimate, and in today's episode, I'm going to be reviewing a whiskey from the Chichibu Distillery. So, I had just recently visited here on a private tour, as this distillery is not open to the public, but being in the industry, so to speak, I was allowed to have a 3-hour private tour, and I was showed around all the facilities and things like that. And upon getting ready to exit the distillery, I asked if I could buy whiskeys on site. And they said that they don't sell them at the distillery itself, as it's just not a public thing. But they gave me a very special list of a map of about 22 different stores, liquor shops all around Chichibu City, in which I could buy Ichiro's Malt at. So I'm very thankful for this. And out of these 22 shops, the brand ambassador for Chichibu Distillery recommended I go to one, I think it's called Asahiya, which is in front of Chichibu Shrine. And I visited that place, and it was very small, but for the size of it, they had a very nice selection there. And so, which one did I pick up? I picked up this one right here called Ichiro's Malt, Japanese Pure Malt Whiskey, Double Distilleries. And this is my absolute favorite Ichiro's, which is the reason why I bought this. Now, I've already bought it. Not already bought it, but I've already tried it before prior many times at the bars. And I loved it, and I declared that this was my most favorite Ichiro. So I thought, why not just end my tour on a highlight with something that I know and something that I love. So to have something like this personally in the home now is quite nice. So I'm going to go ahead and put that right there. And I did already review this for my book, 50 Japanese Whiskies. This book came out last year in 2020. Paperback copy in my hand now. Hardcover back there up on the shelf. But what am I going to do? I'm going to read my review verbatim as I written it back in 2020 out of this. And we're going to have this tasting. Let me go ahead and open this up. Very simple box, just a black box with a Ichiro's leaf label sticker placed on it. And it has a little bit of a gold foil type of emblem up at the top. This is the Chichibu Distillery logo. It's an acorn, and I was told the story about why this acorn is the distillery logo. So with what Yumi Yoshikawa, the brand ambassador, had said to me, she said, because they're a very young distillery and they're very new inside of this industry, this acorn represents them and their freshness and their, what is the word I'm looking for? Their youth in the industry, so to speak. So that's why they use that. Nice. Very humble. On the back, there's some information about this one. It says that the distillery started in 2008. And then there's some other information here. 46% ABV, 700 milliliters. This pure malt whiskey is matured, vatted, and bottled at the Chichibu Distillery. Non-chill filtered, non-colored. Nice original color there. You can see the youth inside of there. All right. Since 2004. Let's go ahead and open this up for the first time. Cork top. I love that pouring sound. Nice smell to this one. And I'll tell you guys the secret. Not only is this my favorite, but out of the whole Ichiro's lineup, the brand ambassador also admitted that this is her favorite Ichiro's malt whiskey as well. So I guess you could say great minds think alike. Having the first pour, this is a little bit stronger than what I remembered. You let it sit a little while, all that ethanol is subside and its characters start to come through. So you swish it around just a little bit and you blow those fumes off of there. All right, so we're going to let that sit for just a bit. Put this right here. Go ahead, open up this book and read my notes on this. Let's switch these things around real quick. I reviewed 5 Chichibu whiskeys, and they are the first 5 whiskeys featured inside of the book. So, let me give a little excerpt from the book. This is a full page that I'm going to read now. Let me show you guys. Bright light here, so it's probably reflecting all that light so that you guys can't see that well. Picture. Full-size picture of the bottle on the left page, review on the right, all of the tasting notes here at the bottom. You know what? Let me go ahead and grab this one. This is the hardcover. I'm slowly replacing these books with glossy pages, but when I first put out this book, the hardcover had these matte pages to it. So they have no shine and no sheen to them, so it's definitely going to show up on camera so that you guys could see it a little bit better. As long as I could find the page. There we go. I think you guys should be able to see that a little bit better. Picture on this side. Review here. And, well, just my notes with a little bit of a review there and tasting notes down here at the bottom. And this is entry number 3 within this book. So, let's go ahead and read this. Chichibu Ichiro's Malt, Japanese pure malt whiskey, double distilleries, aka the green label, because they have these with different color labels, with red and another one with white, and so on. Captain's log, star date 2018, 11/12. So this is the date that, not the first date that I had this, but it's a time when I properly reviewed this one. I've had this at quite a few places. I had this at Cabin Nakameguro, which is one of my favorite bars in Tokyo. And I think I've also had this while in Osaka as well at my favorite bar there, Bar UK. So, this is the last time that I've had it, 2018, November 12th. Before heading over to the Tokyo Whiskey Library for the very first time this same night, I went to the Tokyo ward of Meguro to visit my Brazilian friend Sullivan Govia. He is the head bartender over at Cabin Nakameguro, a posh and cozy spirits bar located in an upscale neighborhood of central Tokyo. I met this guy over a decade ago when we both resided in Yokohama, the neighboring city of Tokyo. We were practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu together at the same dojo at that time. So, I was looking for a whiskey that I'd never had before, something new in Japanese. It was Sullivan's recommendation I try this, a pure malt made by blending 2 single malts from 2 distilleries. Arguably, it was the best blended whiskey I had all year. Like many other Chichibu releases, this also is a non-chill filtered, non-colored release. Sullivan told me the price is slowly creeping up on this one. He and others believe it will be discontinued soon because it is the last of old stock. It comes from Ichiro Akuto's grandfather and then the father's now defunct Hanyu Distillery. At the 2018 Tokyo Whiskey Festival, I asked a representative about this very thing. They expressed to me that even though Hanyu is now demolished, they still have stock and they still want to release it and wish to continue to make it. So that is my written review of this one. And yes, this is mixed with Chichibu whiskey and Hanyu whiskey, but seeing how Hanyu is not with us anymore, this is just old stock that's being used. The brand ambassador, Yumi Yoshikawa, she told me that this whiskey is probably going to continue to be made for just a few more years. Probably, I estimate about 3 or 4 more years before the stock runs out and they have to stop. And I said, well, what will you do when the old Hanyu stock runs out? Well, now they have 2 distilleries, 2 minutes, a 2-minute drive from one another, Chichibu does, inside the same vicinity. Their old distillery and then their second one that was built, that went up in 2019. So they said they're still probably going to do double distilleries, and they're going to mix one distillery being the original one from 2008. It's whiskey with the whiskey from the one that went up in 2019. That's right. So they will still use the name double distilleries, and obviously the taste will change just a little bit there. Maybe the design will change or maybe it will stay the same, but we'll see. So getting ready to have this for the first time. I believe this sat long enough. Let me just check my notes real quick. All right. Get everything situated here. Okay. A little bit hard to smell today, but it smells like American oak. Quite fresh and fragrant. Very new. I mean, it's not new wood. All of the American oak that they get is all used. They're all ex-bourbon cask. But just the smell is like that of new wood, which I don't have written in the book actually. But, you know, opening up a fresh bottle and having it brand new as opposed to the bottle that was already open that I had some years ago. Obviously, they're not going to smell exactly the same and they're not going to taste exactly the same. But I think more than not, they're going to be similar. Sweet vanilla smell. And I wrote in my book citrus fruits. I'm not really getting that now, but I guess that I am in a little bit getting a little bit of citrus fruits. It's a blurred line between that American oak and the citrus smell. Is it more this way or this way? Or just right down the middle in both? Let's go ahead and have a sip. Wow, I'm very surprised at my notes. They're very dead on, almost accurate in a sense, because what I found is that after writing this book, which has been over the course of about 2 to 3 years, even though I put it out in 2020, some of the first tasting notes that I've written about 4 or 5 years ago may not necessarily be a reflection of how I feel about things now. You know, with an upgraded palate, your tastes change, you become more experienced and things like that. and you get more out of it than what you did before. And so overall, as I get older and my experience goes up, things become more enjoyable than what they were. But this review is only from about 2.5 years ago, but the notes still reflect how I feel now. So when you first put it in the mouth, it's going to be spicy smooth. What does that mean? It means, yeah, it has a little bit of spice and a little bit of kick to it, but it's very tolerable, and it's a very mild spice. So I just wrote spicy smooth because it's mild. And additionally, for the palate, I wrote moderate citrus oranges come up, but it's playful like sherbet candy, and I still agree to that. For the finish, I agree with that too. I wrote creamy vanilla, and it leaves a lingering taste inside the back of your throat. Yeah, that taste is still with me now. Doing all this talking, I still feel it. So we have a little bit left there. Let's go ahead and finish this off. But that essentially is my review. Oh, that's delicious. For a young whiskey, in which they do have a lot of young whiskeys coming out of Chichibu, that's very good. And being that it's young, I'm glad that they leave the ABV quite higher than usual. Because, you know, when you're having a lot of Japanese whiskeys and you look at the labeling, you find more oftentimes than not that the Japanese palate likes to appreciate things that are 43% ABV, and it usually sits around that area for most of the popular whiskeys that are coming out of these companies. But Ichiro's, they usually put out things at a higher intensity and ABV. So that's appreciated for what they're doing. It helps to make it more flavorful, because if they diluted this young thing any more than what it already is, then I think you're going to be getting robbed of some flavors there. But yeah, that's quite nice. Maybe I could say that this is still my favorite. It's so hard at this point in time. I love this one a lot. And what is the other Ichiro's that I love? I reviewed it inside the book. The white label is called the Malt and Grain World Blended Whiskey, and it has a white label with a leaf on there. So I love that one just as much. And I've had a new double distilleries actually, and that one just came out about a week ago, and that is from Chichibu and the Mars Distillery, the Mars Distillery that makes Komagatake, I believe is the name of that whiskey. So they both did an exchange with one another, which is really rare inside of Japan, these two distilleries. Because, you know, these Japanese distilleries, they don't exchange with one another. They really don't associate with one another. But these guys, they set up a partnership with each other. And Chichibu gave like some cask to Mars, and Mars gave an equal amount of cask back to Chichibu to sit inside of their warehouse. And they both blended these whiskeys with their stock that they already have inside of the warehouses. So they are different tasting from one another. But they have a double distilleries that's called Chichibu and Mars Komagatake. And then there's one that's Mars Komagatake mixed with Chichibu. So they have the names reversed depending on what distillery you buy it from. But the tastes are completely different on that. But I've had the Chichibu version of that one after I had went to the distillery, and I went to a local bar that was recommended to me, and I've had it there for the very first time. One of the first Americans to have I guess one of the first Westerners in general, probably the first to have tasted that. And that was quite good and quite nice. Quite the experience. Wow, just so much to say. In coming days, I'm going to be talking a lot more about this whiskey and about Chichibu and their whole lineup and the tour and all of this. So make sure you stay tuned for those videos. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you guys think about this one. And I'm done rambling. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Salute to you wherever you may be out in the world. And as usual, gentlemen, you guys know what to do. Drink responsibly and keep it classy.